She never imagined that the man who broke into her house would one day break into her heart. Rain poured against the tall glass walls of Hinawra's mansion, sliding down in silver streams. The world outside was dark, blurred, and stormy, but inside the house, everything was still, too still. Hinawra sat in her art studio, surrounded by half-finished paintings, her brush moving without purpose. The silence was heavy, like it had a voice of its own. It had been years since she'd heard laughter in this place. Her parents were gone, her friends distant, and her world was nothing but colors on canvas. Then, a sound. A sharp, unfamiliar crack. Her hand froze. Another sound followed, a faint thud, a footstep, deliberate and slow. Her pulse raced. She put the brush down and picked up a metal rod from beside her easel. Barefoot, she stepped into the hallway. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating the long corridor like a snapshot of fear. The sound came again from the living room. She moved closer, her heart hammering with each breath. And then she saw him. A man drenched from the rain, his jacket torn, his hair dripping water onto the marble floor. He stood near the piano, his back turned toward her. One hand clutched a small flashlight, the other resting near his pocket where a faint metallic glint caught her eye. "Who are you?" she said, her voice shaking. The man turned. His face was young, tired, his eyes hollow, yet strangely calm. "Please don't be afraid," he said softly. "I'm not here to hurt you." "You broke into my house," she snapped. "Why are you here?" "I didn't come to steal," he said, his voice barely more than a whisper. "I needed food and a place to stay. Just for tonight. People don't break windows when they're hungry," she said coldly. He gave a faint, bitter smile. "People do worse when they're desperate." She studied him. His hands were trembling, not from fear, but from cold. A small cut traced his cheek, still bleeding. He looked fragile, broken. Something in his eyes made her hesitate. "Your name," she demanded. "Zion," he answered quietly. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I just had nowhere else to go." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The wind howled through the broken window, scattering raindrops across the piano keys. Finally, Hinawra lowered the rod slightly. "There's food in the kitchen," she said. "Don't move until I tell you to." He blinked, surprised. "You're not calling the police?" "Not yet," she said. "It depends on what you tell me next." "Then I'll tell you the truth," he murmured, his voice trembling. Thunder rolled in the distance as lightning illuminated their faces. A frightened woman and a broken man, standing at the edge of something neither could explain. Sometimes, the people we fear the most are the ones fate sends to heal us. Hinawra moved toward the kitchen, her thoughts storming louder than the rain outside. Who was this man? Why did he sound so hopeless? The house felt colder now, filled with questions she wasn't ready to ask. She switched on the dim kitchen light. The air smelled of turpentine and unfinished art. She opened the fridge, pulled out bread, and set a bowl of soup to warm on the stove. Every sound, the ticking flame, the wind rattling the glass, felt amplified in the silence. When she turned around, she saw him standing near the doorway. Zion, quiet, hesitant, dripping water onto the tiles. "I told you not to move," she said sharply. "I just wanted to thank you," he replied, his voice low, "for not throwing me out." Hinawra frowned. "Don't mistake kindness for trust," he nodded. "No. Trust isn't something people give me easily." She set the soup on the table. "Eat," she said. Then leave before morning." Zion didn't argue. He sat, hands trembling as he lifted the spoon. The steam from the bowl fogged his tired face. Hinawra stood across from him, watching silently. Every movement he made told her he was untie-lying. This was a man crushed by life, not hardened by crime. "Why were you outside in the storm?" she asked finally. He hesitated. "I was looking for work. I used to fix cars before the shop shut down. My mother's been sick. I couldn't pay the rent." "So you thought breaking into a stranger's house was the answer?" His eyes lifted slowly to hers. "No. I thought dying in the rain was easier. But I saw the light in your window. It felt safe." Her chest tightened. For a brief second, she saw the truth in his eyes, that he hadn't come here to steal, but to survive. Zion finished eating in silence. When he stood, he looked awkward, unsure of what to say. "Thank you," he murmured, placing the empty bowl on the counter. "I'll go now." Hinawra hesitated. She looked at the storm outside, wind thrashing against the trees, rain flooding the steps. He'd freeze before sunrise. "The storm's not ending tonight," she said quietly. "You can sleep in the guest room. But if you try anything—" "I won't," he interrupted softly. "You have my word." Something in his voice made her believe him. Without another word, she handed him a towel and pointed toward the hallway. Zion nodded, his steps slow and weary. "Oh!" When he disappeared into the guest room, Hinawra leaned against the wall, closing her eyes. She couldn't explain why she felt this strange pull toward a man who had broken into her home. Maybe it was pity, maybe something else. Upstairs, the storm raged on. But for the first time in years, the house didn't feel empty. It felt alive, unpredictable, dangerous, and somehow human. That night, two strangers shared the same silence, one out of fear, the other out of guilt. Hinawra couldn't sleep. Every creak of the floor reminded her that a stranger was under her roof. She tiptoed to the balcony, watching rain shimmer under the streetlight. Downstairs, Zion lay awake on the couch. He stared at the ceiling, haunted by everything that had brought him here. Hunger, mistakes, and a heart too tired to keep fighting. Somewhere between the thunder and the ticking clock, their loneliness began to echo each other. In different rooms, both whispered to the night. By morning, the storm had passed, but something in Hinawra's heart had just begun to stir. Sunlight spilled through the curtains, painting the walls gold. Hinawra walked downstairs, expecting the guest room to be empty. But Zion was still there, sitting quietly by the window, holding the towel she'd given him. He looked different in daylight. His eyes weren't just tired, they were kind. "You're still here," she said. "I didn't want to leave without saying thank you," he replied. "You didn't have to help me. You broke into my house," she reminded him. "I know," he said softly, "and I'm sorry I wasn't thinking. I was desperate." Something in his voice disarmed her again. He wasn't trying to justify himself. He was just broken. Hinawra sighed. "There's a cafe down the street. They might be hiring. Tell them I sent you." His head lifted, surprised. "You'd do that for me? Don't make me regret it," she said, hiding the faint smile on her lips. He smiled back, the first real smile she'd seen from him. "I won't." Before leaving, Zion stopped near the door. "You saved me last night?" he said quietly. When the door shut behind him, the house felt empty again, but not in the same way. There was warmth now, something invisible that refused to fade. Hinawra stood at her easel, trying to paint, Yet every stroke turned into the shape of his face, the tired eyes, the quiet sadness. She didn't want to admit it, but he had left a mark she couldn't erase. Outside, the world moved on. But inside her heart, something had begun, a story she'd never meant to write. Fate always finds a way to bring two souls together, even when the world tries to keep them apart. Days turned into weeks. Hinawra thought she'd never see Zion again, but destiny had other plans. One rainy evening, as she locked up her art studio downtown, she saw a familiar figure across the street holding a tray of coffee cups, laughing shyly with customers. Zion. He looked healthier now, his clothes clean, his face brighter. When he noticed her, his expression froze, half shock, half joy. "You actually found the cafe," she said, walking closer. "I did," he smiled. "They hired me the next day." "I owe that to you. You earned it yourself," she replied softly. "I just opened the door." For a moment, silence wrapped around them. Not awkward, but warm. It was the kind of silence that says everything words can't. "Would you like some coffee?" he asked almost nervously. Hinawra hesitated. She'd never been the kind of woman to say yes easily, but something in his voice felt honest, unpolished, real. "Sure," she said finally. Inside, the cafe smelled of cinnamon and rain. They sat by the window as people hurried past with umbrellas. And for the first time, Hinawra talked. Really talked. About her parents, her paintings, her loneliness. Zion listened. Not like someone trying to comfort her, but like someone who truly understood pain. "Do you know," he said after a while, "I used to think life only took things away. But maybe sometimes it gives back too. Just in strange ways." Her eyes softened. "Strange ways, like breaking into someone's house." He laughed. "A quiet, beautiful sound." Something like that. When she left that night. She didn't realize it, but her heart was already betraying her walls. And for Zion, the man who came to rob her home, he had unknowingly stolen something far more precious. Her heart. Love doesn't always arrive with flowers. Sometimes it walks in quietly, carrying the weight of a broken past. Weeks passed and coffee meetings became routine. Hinawra told herself they were just friends, that she was only helping a man rebuild his life. But deep down, she knew it wasn't true. Zion made her laugh in ways she hadn't in years. He teased her gently when she forgot to eat while painting. And sometimes, he dropped by with takeout, just to make sure she didn't skip dinner. Their lives started to overlap quietly, naturally, beautifully. One evening, Hinawra invited him to her house again, this time not as a stranger, but as a friend. The same house that once echoed with fear, now filled with warmth and laughter. She showed him her latest paintings, stormy skies, blurred faces, and broken hearts. Zion studied them silently. "They're beautiful," he said, "but they all look lonely." She smiled faintly. "That's because they were painted by someone who forgot how to love." Zion looked at her, his gaze steady. "Then maybe it's time you remember." His words hung in the air like a secret neither dared to touch. Hinawra turned away, pretending to fix a brush. Her heart was beating too fast. Later, as he was leaving, rain began to fall again, soft, rhythmic, familiar. He paused at the doorway. "Funny," he said quietly, "how it always rains when I'm near you." She laughed softly. "Maybe you bring it with you." "Or maybe," he said, meeting her eyes, "it just follows us both." When he left, the air still smelled of rain, and something else she couldn't name. That night, Hinawra lay awake, replaying his words in her mind. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his smile. Every time thunder rolled, she heard his voice. She had never planned to fall in love, but love, it seemed, had already chosen her. Every love story is tested, some by time, others by truth. It had been 3 months since that night. Hinawra's world felt brighter, her laughter louder, but peace never lasts forever. One evening, while she was preparing for her new art exhibition, 2 police officers came to her door. "We're looking for a man named Zion Khan," one said. "He swanted for questioning in a robbery that happened 3 months ago. Same night as the storm." Hinawra's heart froze. "That can't be right," she whispered. "He's changed. He's working. He's ma'am." The officer interrupted gently. "People don't change that easily." The words cut through her chest. After they left, she stood still for minutes, unable to breathe. That night, she went to the cafe. Zion was there, smiling as always, wiping tables, humming quietly. When he saw her, his smile faltered. "Hinawra? What's wrong?" "The police came," she said quietly. "They're looking for you." His eyes lowered. "I know you knew." Her voice broke. "You lied to me?" "I never lied," he said softly. "I just didn't tell you everything. That night, I really did go out to steal. I was lost, angry, and broke. But when I saw you, something in me stopped." Hinawra stared at him, pain filling her chest. "Ow. Why didn't you tell me the truth?" "Because I didn't. Did you want to lose the only good thing that ever happened to me?" Silence fell between them. Rain started to fall outside again like the night they met. "I'll turn myself in," he said finally. "I can't run anymore, but I want you to know, Hinawra, everything after that night was real. Every word, every smile." Tears welled in her eyes. "You don't have to go." "I do," he said gently, "because I want to come back the right way, not as a thief, but as the man you deserve." And before she could say anything else, he leaned forward, pressed his forehead against hers, and whispered, "Wait for me." Then he walked out into the rain, the same way he had entered her life. Odd. Only this time he was stealing her heart for good. True love doesn't end when someone leaves. It waits quietly, faithfully until life brings them back. Nara's days felt longer, quieter. She still visited the cafe sometimes, sitting by the same window where they once laughed together. Every night she painted, not storms, not loneliness anymore, but faces touched by hope. Her art exhibition finally opened, filled with her new collection titled "The Man Who Came in the Rain." People admired her work, but she barely heard them. Every canvas whispered his name. Every color carried his memory. As the evening drew to a close, a soft voice came from behind her. "You still paint the rain beautifully?" She froze. Slowly, she turned, and there he was, Zion. Dressed simply, eyes gentle, and smile trembling like he couldn't believe it either. She whispered, unable to finish. "Free," he said softly. "They cleared my case. I told them everything, and they believed me. I've been working again, trying to build something honest." Tears blurred her vision. "You came back? I promised I would." He smiled. "And I keep my promises now." For a moment, the room disappeared. No crowd, no noise, just them. He stepped closer. "I don't have much, Hinawra, but I have a heart that belongs to you, completely." She reached out, her hand trembling as it touched his face. "You stole it long ago," she whispered. He laughed softly, eyes glistening. "Then I guess I'm guilty after all." Outside, the rain began again, gentle, rhythmic, forgiving. As they stood together, the storm that once tore their worlds apart now washed everything clean. Two souls, once broken by pain, now whole again, not by chance, but by choice. And for the rest of their lives, every time it rained, Hinawra would smile and whisper, "That's the night he came to rob my house, and ended up stealing my heart."